Good evening and welcome to Study Buddy. I invite you to the very interesting session of Longitudes and Latitudes Part 3. I'm sure the previous session was very informative and you have learned and prepared well. Let us see what is there for us in today's session. We are going to again see all about Greenwich and discuss at length. So, what do you mean by Greenwich Meridian? First of all, let's take a quick recap by seeing the diagram over here. So, here when we are looking at this diagram, we can see the prime meridian, which is the red line. So, when the geographers were discussing which line or from where to start the countdown of numbering the meridians, they were confused, and then they decided that the Royal Observatory, which is there in Greenwich, they decided let us make that as the 0 degree first latitude. That's what they decided upon, and this is how the Greenwich Meridian was named as the meridian, or you can say the longitude which passes through Greenwich was numbered as 0, and then they gave that latitude the name prime meridian. So here you can see this is the Royal Observatory Center, and let's quickly have a look at the details. So when we are talking about Greenwich, as I told you, it is the 0 degree meridian, the starting point of all the other meridians. Moreover, there are basically it divides the entire earth into two spheres. This is eastern and western. So from north to south, the longitudes run, and while they are the 0 degree meridian, it is dividing the earth into two spheres, making this as the western and this as the eastern hemisphere. So the countries which lie towards the eastern hemisphere will be the countries which are having which will add the GMT. So this will be marked as the GMT line. So any country which is ahead will be marked as ahead. Okay, so they will have to add the hours. Whereas any country which is to the western side, they will have to deduct the hours from the GMT time. So the entire world is based on time zones. We are going to learn in our next slide which all time zones are there and all the details. So when we look at the properties, or you can say the features of meridian, how can we tell or what can we tell about meridians? So first of all, we need to understand that there are 180 meridians on one side and 180 on the other side. So eastern hemisphere will have 180 and western will have 180, making the total to 360 meridians. When we look this 0 degree, so it's a half circle, okay? It is not a full circle, it is a half circle. It is equal length. The length from north to south is equal, but it is not equidistant. The distance will not remain equal. Reason being, from at the polar region they are much closer, and at the central region they are very much far away, because it gets broader as the earth is having a spherical shape, but also it has like orange shape. So the top and the bottom, or you can say the north pole and the south pole, are slightly flat, and the center is very broad, and therefore there will be change in the variation of the diameter distance between the two longitude. Okay, so they are not equidistant, right? Going further, if we look at this, we have already discussed that there are 360 meridians. So let's move to the next topic, and that is what is standard time. Now standard time, ये क्या होता है? Local time, ये क्या होता है? Okay, if I am living in a particular region, every one of us know that there is sunrise, there is sunset, there is night. Now if a person who is living in Kashmir and a person who is living maybe in Kolkata, or a person who is living in Gujarat and a person who is living maybe in South, will they have the same time or the sunrise? No. The reason is that in some factors matter, right? The latitudes and longitudinal positions matter. So if you are more towards the eastern side, the rising rays of the sun will come faster comparatively. So maybe that Japan might be having sunrise at 5:15 or 5:30 a.m. Maybe India 6 o'clock maximum we might be seeing the sun. As per the local time, if हम घड़ी को नहीं देखते हैं, हम ये कहते हैं कि what is the time when the sun will rise, जब सूर्योदय होता है, and the time when the sun sets, that is the end of the day and the night. So sometimes in every place, depending on the climatic condition, latitude, altitude, the day's length and the night's length will also vary. We know about this concept. Moreover, longitudinal position also makes things different. So when I compare the local time, it will be of a particular place. But if I say standard time, then it is fixed by geographers, by the country. They have come to an understanding that this common time or from this longitude, the entire country will be fixing their time or will match their clocks, and therefore it is called as a standard meridian or standard time. Okay, so what is standard time? Basically, you can say that in entire world 24 standard meridians are there. Why? Because when we look at it, that every 15 degrees apart, when you look at if you calculate that the entire earth has been divided into 24 zones. Now when we look at the rotation speed of the earth, we come to know that the earth takes 4 minutes to cover one longitudinal distance. So when we are talking about this measurement or this distance, we can understand that 4 minutes, 4 into 24 hours, like if you look at. So if you look at 4 minutes, if we see, and 360 latitudes are there, 4 into 360, when we do the number of minutes which comes and we divide it from 60 minutes per hour, we get 24 hours in a day. So this way the calculations has been made very perfect, very systematic, so that entire day cycle is properly managed for the chaos and to not happen in our day-to-day life. So standard time is the synchronization basically of the clocks, and it is basically an artificial understanding so that there will be no problem in any of the routine time management like air flight tickets, train tickets, bus arrivals, office hours, school hours. If everybody will follow a different watch, it doesn't work like that, right? So there is a standard time for uniformity, for bringing in everybody a systematic time zone, right? Now when we talk about Indian standard time, okay, we understood what is standard time, we understood what is Greenwich Meridian time. Now let us understand in our country, what is Indian standard time. So here you can see the map of India and you can see this vertical longitude passing. This longitude is passing through UP, Uttar Pradesh, Meerut and Allahabad regions, and you can see that it has been fixed as our, you can say it is fixed as our Indian standard time. So this longitude which passes, almost the heart of the central part of the longitudes, from all the longitudes which pass in India, the most you can say centralized longitude was selected by geographers to declare it to be the Indian standard time. So 82.5 degree, which is the eastern hemisphere. India lies in the eastern hemisphere. So we write E over there. So 82.5 degree east latitude is treated as the standard meridian, and it is known or marked as IST, that is Indian standard time. Okay. So why do we have a standard time in India? Basically, there is, if you look at the longitudinal display, India is the 7th largest country. Being the 7th largest country of the world, if we calculate the 4 minutes passing for crossing each longitude, so the total number of longitudes, if we calculate from the easternmost end to the westernmost end, we will come to know that this difference is of 2 hours. pretty long, right? So this 2 hours, if we keep, we could have kept 2 time zones also, but we did not want, India did not want to have any kind of calculative problems, and therefore they only chose one time, Indian Standard Time, and it was 82.5 degree eastern longitude which was selected. All right. So looking at the IDL, you can see in this figure a very zigzag kind of a line is there, and then you might be telling, ma'am, आप तो half circles बता रहे हो, equal size के बता रहे हैं, half circles, तो ये zigzag क्यों है? इसका भी एक reason है. IDL is the international date line. Now, as I told you before, that when you are passing from GMT, which is prime meridian, 0 degree meridian, you have to subtract your hours if you are moving towards the western zone. But you have to add whatever time is there on Greenwich Meridian. Suppose it is 12 at Greenwich Meridian. I have to add 5 hours and 30 minutes if I want to see the time of India. But if I want to see the time which is of a country which is 10 hours behind me, like take it Canada, 9.5 hours is Toronto behind us. Okay. So then I have to deduct it. If I talk about any Western country, I have to deduct my hours. If I have to talk about any Eastern country, I have to add the hours. If we talk about Japan, it's around 9 or 10 hours ahead of us. So whatever time, suppose if it is 12 over here, or if it is maybe 2 o'clock over here, you need to add 9 hours and you have to then calculate the time of Japan. So addition and subtraction will be done once you cross GMT. Likewise, IDL, international date line, when you cross the international date line, you have to change the date. All right, because what happens is from western hemisphere to eastern hemisphere, the difference is 12 hours. 12 hours में रात और दिन का फर्क पड़ जाता है, लेकिन कुछ कंट्रियां 23 घंटे से पीछे होती है दूसरी कंट्री से. So what they have the, because when do you see the date changing? At midnight. At 12 o'clock midnight, the date changes as per the digital clock. This also was a geographical understanding done by the world geographers in a very big summit, that let us come together and decide the international format for dates and days and calendar. And therefore, as per the Gregorian calendar and the international date line calendar, these things were decided that at midnight, no matter which country you belong to, the date changes. Now what they did is, certain countries, if you look at, they will be having different hours compared to GMT. But once you cross IDL, it means that you have to change the date. This way the geographers have finally come to certain conclusions. And therefore, if you are coming from the western hemisphere to the eastern hemisphere, you have to add 1 day. But if you are going from the eastern hemisphere to the western hemisphere, you have to deduct the day. Now, eastern western is not the thing. When you cross IDL, you have to do that. Now coming to this, why is it called having a zigzag line? Now, if suppose there would be some countries, if they would have made a half circle, and certain countries like here you can see Auckland is there. अब ये Auckland को omit करने के लिए उसकी लाइन zigzag हो रही है, या बहुत सारी कंट्रीज जो बीच में आ रही होगी उनको omit रखना जरूरी था, क्योंकि वरना उस कंट्री में कुछ लोग कॉन्सिडेट फॉलो करते और कुछ लोग कॉन्सिडेट. तो अवॉइडिंग कंफ्यूजन वाज इंपॉर्टेंट, बिकॉज if this ideal would have passed from various countries, so many people would have the problem of the date and the day. So the geographers, they decided that let us not make it pass through any country at all, and therefore the ideal does not pass through any land boundary of any given country. It is therefore a zigzag line, right? So GMT. Now what do you mean by GMT? Again, we have already done this, but we are going to add a little information. Now, who has produced this information? In the 17th century, one of the geographers had presented this idea in England, and this is how this entire concept came. And who was this? It was John Flamsteed. He was an astronomer and he developed the concept of Greenwich Meridian in the 17th century. Okay, and this proposal was immediately accepted of synchronizing the time, and this is how we get the GMT. So India is 5 hours 30 minutes ahead of the GMT. Time zone calculation. So let us see this. What will be the time in London if it is 4 p.m. in India? So it will be, suppose 4 p.m. in India. So the time in London, you have to, what you need to do is from the GMT time, whatever is the GMT time, you have to add 1 hour. Okay. So if what they are saying, what will be the time in London if it is 4 p.m. in India? Okay. So GMT time, it is 5 hours 30 minutes ahead of in India. So what you need to do, you know it is 4 p.m. So it's already you can always calculate 5 hours 30 minutes you have to calculate, and 1 hour you have to add for your UK or deduct for UK depending on where the transit is. So you are going towards the west, UK will be behind you, India is ahead of UK. So you have to reduce that many. So 4 बजे में से आप 5.5 घंटे भी निकालोगे और 1 घंटा और निकालोगे, 6.5 घंटे निकालेंगे, और उसके बाद जो टाइम आपको मिलेगा that will become the time. So you have to use the digital watch to understand this, and you have to make the numbers and you have to subtract the numbers, and this way you get the exact time of a given place if you know the GMT very easily. If suppose, second example, if it is 4:07 p.m. in India, what would be the time in Japan? So GMT time is 5 hours 30 minutes ahead of India, and if you look at Japan, it is basically 7:37. It is basically 9 hours ahead Tokyo. So what they have done is 5 hours 30 minutes and the 9 hours. That entire we have to add because it is ahead of us. Okay. So 4 o'clock, if it is evening 4 o'clock for us, they are ahead of us. उनका शाम खत्म हो चुका है, रात होने वाली होगी शायद. So this way we have to calculate and we can get the exact GMT. Whatever time is there on the GMT plus 9 hours which is of Tokyo, if you do that, you easily get the total. Okay. Now, as I have told you that from the GMT time you have to just minus 4 hours and you will get the time. So if it is 4:20 in India, what you need to do, you have to just see what is the time on the GMT. From GMT you have to minus 4 hours and that will be the time. So here when we are looking at 12 a.m. GMT is suppose if it is 12 a.m. at GMT, what will be in India? 5:30. If it is 1 o'clock, it will be 6:30 in India. If it is 2 o'clock over there, it is 7:30. If you learn this table, you can orally also calculate. So this sample or example is basically given for making oral calculations. You know all the time, yes, you get all information today on your gadgets, on your devices, on mobiles, in your smartwatch, everything is available. But still, a human mind should be sharp enough, and all you need is to exercise it and keep it very stocked with good knowledge mind, right? So with this, I'm sure this small revision or recap session must be enriching, and you might have again cleared your doubts. At that note, I'm going to conclude this session. I hope you all have understood. If you have any questions, any doubts, feel free to call us on 9512242424. We are at Study Buddy. We are on Instagram. We are on YouTube. We are also available on Facebook. You can download our app and get your resources. Like, share, and comment. Subscribe if you think we are worthy. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Have a great time.